Hello everyone, Jul here. This is maybe unpopular opinion, but I think 2022 is going to be the year of dark fantasy RPG, which means Souls-like, roguelike, and Metroidvanias are going to be the center of attention. So, to satisfy that hunger, I'll be giving you my 25 new and upcoming Souls-like games that included games from 2021 in case some of you missing those games, and also upcoming games that already slated or possibly released in 2022. Some of these games are not purely Souls-like because of how developers combining a lot of elements in one game nowadays, so expect some heavy roguelike and Metroidvanias reference included in this list. And please note that in these videos, I don't make the list based on ranking. Alright then, let's get started. Grime is rock hard, a Souls-influenced take on the side-scrolling Metroidvania, sprawling in scope yet intricate in detail. It is inviting you to reveal its secrets while testing your skills with tough combat and rigorous sequences of platforming. Basically, Grime is a highly accomplished Souls-like action RPG that delivers a hefty challenge without being punitive. Aeterna Noctis is an amazing example of how a developer can mix together gameplay elements to construct something greater than the sum of its parts. While the gameplay is heavily inspired by games like Hollow Knight, Dark Souls, and Castlevania, Aeterna Noctis' fascinating setting and enjoyable gameplay make it easy to appreciate on its own. Its beautiful world and gorgeous soundtrack make exploring Aeterna is a joy even when its high difficulty is knocking you down over and over. If you have been seeking your next Souls-like and Metroidvania, Aeterna Noctis is definitely worth diving into. And the lilies doesn't really do anything new, but that's okay. The presentation is well designed, the action is more rewarding than punishing, and its chaotic world are captivating. And the lilies demonstrates that simply executing a familiar formula at a high level can be just as welcome as reinventing the wheel. Switching influences, Eldest Souls combat takes more inspiration from Bloodborne than it does Dark Souls, with a quicker paced combat and emphasis on aggression. Designed with replayability in mind, it's a little bit of a bummer that its impressive customization doesn't really blossom until partway into your first playthrough. But one thing that there's there from the start is the feeling of immense glory after every hard-earned victory. Death's Door is a must for those looking to scratch the itch of a classic Zelda dungeon delving game with the added bonus of satisfying Souls games influence. The combination of puzzle solving and combat encounters work perfectly to challenge the players in all the right ways. While the adventure is quite short, the fresh and rewarding experience from the game is definitely worth it. Borrowing ideas liberally from numerous inspirations can often lead to games that lack an identity or clear focus. However, this isn't the case for Unsighted, a pixelated top-down Souls-like that combined its many familiar gameplay mechanics into a cohesive adventure. It's a remix that also blends gracefully with Unsighted original ideas, adding the necessary tension to a time-sensitive mission that works thematically and mechanically. Overall, Unsighted is a tightly paced action game with sharp combat and inventive puzzles that are delightful to enjoy. Curse of the Dead Gods doesn't do much in the way of storytelling, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is its true focus, and it's so good that the thin plot is easily forgivable. The game perfectly mixes the roguelike progression and Souls-like combat while combining some additional mechanics that give you the immense satisfaction while taking down challenges with a fresh replayability. Overall, if you enjoy roguelikes or Souls-like, there's a zero chance that you won't falling in love for Curse of the Dead Gods. Eastern Exorcist is a thrilling side-scrolling game that features a well-polished combat system and excellent visuals. The world is a stunning one that features painting-style artwork, wonderful monster designs, and genuinely interesting lore. Combat is heavily inspired from Souls games as it's heavily focused on carefully timed strikes and parries. Overall, Eastern Exorcist delivers exciting, side-scrolling action with plenty of old-school challenges. Sense of Aura comes along with a whole different perspective on Souls-like and doesn't shy from the comparison. The game is still in active development and presumably until 2023, but you can try the game as it is now in early access, and from what I've seen so far, the game actually have a potential to be a good Souls-like game. I'm not trying to be nice, but maybe you can try it to see it for yourself. At first glance, Blue Fire resembles Hollow Knight in the 3D space. It's got plenty of familiar ideas, Souls-inspired carefully timing combat, quick dashing between platforms, and abandoned kingdom full of monsters. The game puts more emphasis on platforming than the combat, but it still proves to be an enjoyable experience for Souls-like fans. This is not a game that you would care for its story. The game combines a lot of combat mechanics such as Devil May Cry fast-paced action to Soul series dodge and well-timed parries, laced with FPS mechanic that surely doesn't feel like a game that you ever played before. While the game doesn't feel like a AAA game, but I encourage you to try this game for the new Souls-like combat experience. Now we come into the upcoming games territory. Clash Artifacts of Chaos planned to be released on June 2022, an action-adventure that features martial arts combat design with a Souls-inspired careful timing combat. The game has a unique art style and atmosphere that hopefully brings a fresh experience for the players and the genre as a whole. Next, we have Guild the Deathless. The game is planned to be released on spring 2022. It is a roguelike game with Souls-inspired combat and dark fantasy atmosphere that also introduces some new ideas. The best ideas that was presented is that the world somehow shared with other players, meaning that whatever choice you made in the game will affect other players' journey. I'm not quite sure how these ideas will work, but it really does look interesting. Swords and Their Boy is a 2.5D sci-fi Souls-like action about two AI swords using a mortally wounded boy to finish their task. The game kinda remind me of Unsighted or Little Nightmares but with Souls combat mechanic. The premise seems interesting and the graphics are a unique one at that. It is expected to be released in spring 2022, means another Souls-like games to try this year. .505 Games unveil a new action-adventure called Strayblade at Gamescom, a Souls-like tale of a rogue adventurer in the Lost Valley of Aeterna. Stray Blade will also feature intense combat that merge strategic anticipation of enemy attacks with split-second blade-to-blade reactions, alongside boss fights against the mighty god kings who rule the land. The game has a unique art style that kinda reminds you to Kingdom of Amalur, but better. To this day, Stray Blade is slated to launch sometime in 2022 on Steam, Epic, and the Microsoft Store. Blind Fate Edo no Yami is a cinematic action side-scroller with brutally challenging combat. The game sets in a dystopian modern Japan period ruled by machines born from the darkest Japanese folktales. There's actually a free game that serves as an introduction to this game called Blind Fate Edo no Yami Dojo that you can play right now. This interesting Souls-like side-scroller is expected to be launched in Q1 2022.
They have left.
Soulstice's story reveals that the Holy Kingdom of Quietus is compromised when powerful, feral creatures known as wraiths invade from the other side of the Veil. Briar and Dude are sent on a mission to reclaim a city in ruins that has been ravaged by the wraiths. The game seems like a well-polished action RPG combining Devil May Cry fast-paced action style with carefully timing combat of Souls-like. The game expected to be released sometimes in 2022. Hopefully there's no delay since it looks promising. Bleak Fate Forsaken is an indie Souls-like RPG that looks captivating. The game features a Souls combat combined with some survival and exploration aspects. The graphics and atmospheres feels dark and hollow even more than Souls series in my opinion. It is planned to be released in Q2 of 2022 and hopefully the game will be decent since it's a small team project. If you are able to look past all of the chaos memes, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins is actually shaping up to be a very promising looking action or Souls-like spin on the Final Fantasy franchise. The game also provides a certain number of classes, each with their own playstyles and item progression. And what makes it even better, the games also have a co-op features, which makes the entire experience more enjoyable to play with friends. The game is expected to be released on March 2022, which is not that far from Elden Ring release date. Dolmen is a terrifying new action RPG that combines futuristic sci-fi and cosmic horror elements. The combat kinda reminds me of Destiny, but without its FPS elements, and also more emphasizing on anticipating enemy movements just like Souls games. The graphics quite good for an indie games, and the Doom guy-like character seems like an interesting idea to put in this dark fantasy RPG. If you're excited to play this game as I am, well, the game is planned to be released sometimes in 2022. Hopefully not too long.
Decoding now.
Paris is in the grip of terror. The revolution has been suppressed with bloodshed by Louis XVI and his merciless mechanical army. It falls to Aegis, an engineering marvel, to take on the king's army and change the course of history. The game has an intense combat mechanic and challenging enemies. Your nerves and skills will be tested to their limits at every moment battling these relentless enemies and epic bosses. The game is planned to be released in June 2022. Thymesia is a grueling action RPG with fast-paced combat and intricate weapon system. The atmosphere kinda reminds me of Bloodborne, and the combat has that anticipating enemy movement feels like any Souls games. The graphic looks great, skills and combat features look interesting, and the overall design looks promising so far, which is to be expected because it is developed by a more experienced team. Unfortunately, we need to wait to experience this game because the launch has been delayed from December 2021 to sometimes in 2022. Hopefully, we don't have to wait for too long. Hollow Knight Silksong is a sequel to one of the best Metroidvanias that ever made. In its original reveal trailer, Team Cherry announced that it was aiming to release Hollow Knight Silksong in 2019. Unfortunately, we didn't hear any updates about the game since that reveal, probably because of this pandemic. This feels like a copium at this point, but hopefully we will get the game on 2022. Lies of P is an action Souls-like game that inspired by the familiar story of Pinocchio. That's not something we ever expected to see, but it is a game that we will all be playing soon. The graphics look great, and to me, the atmosphere feels like a combination between Bloodborne and Dishonored. It is actually too early to say about when this game will be released, but looking at how far the game already developed in the trailer, I assume there's a good chance that the game will be released on late 2022 or early 2023. So why not put it on this list? I'm not sure whether to put this game into Souls-like or Souls games, but who cares? What you need to care is the fact that from the recent network tests, it looks promising. The graphics are good, the open world structure blends with the Souls RPG mechanics incredibly well, and the combat is just as punishing and rewarding as previous From Software games. There's also a lot of exploration and crafting that almost reminded you to Breath of the Wild. With this combined formula, I think the game will have so much to offer and have a potential to be one of the best games ever made in history. Alright boys, I think that's it for today. Actually, there are still so many good upcoming Souls-like games, but their release is either 2023 or beyond that. So I thought it would be better that I don't put it on this list for now. But if there's any new developments about the release, then I will probably make a part 2 of this series. So what do you think? Tell us your opinion in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss another great list. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Peace.